Good morning. My name is Adam Kahn, and I am the Rational Investor. So today is Sunday, April 16th. It's the morning, and I'm here in sunny Las Vegas. I'm going to talk about what I tend to talk about most, which is real estate. And primarily, I'll be talking about the Las Vegas real estate market because that's where I'm from and that's what I know the best. That being said, please keep in mind I'm not a financial planner, so you need to make any of the financial decisions you make for yourself and use my information for just entertainment purposes only. I'm just sharing what I think and my background and things that I've seen in my life. But for you, you need to make your own decisions and just use this as entertainment. So, that being said, I know we saw a big increase in prices and we've seen rates go up and everything else. And I'm watching a lot of people talking about how the market's going to continue to correct another 10, 20, 30, 40%, whatever their numbers are, based on all sorts of things, some being inflation, some being the Fed, some being some other stuff. I kind of feel like we're at an interval where this is the time that the people who are putting those videos out should need to settle down and make their clients comfortable that when it is scary are the times that you should be stepping in and looking to buy. I know it doesn't make sense. I know things have gone up a lot, but similar to a loaf of bread, if there's inflation and things get more expensive, so does housing. And I don't see it getting more affordable over time, whether that's through higher interest rates or through prices. There seems to be demand, and prices continue to go up in terms of a monthly cost. So I don't see the value in telling people to wait because if rates go up, even if prices come down, unless you're paying cash, if that causes the payment to be more expensive than it would have been now, does it really matter what the value of the house is? So if you buy a house for $600,000 and it drops to 500,000, but interest rates go up enough that the payment's higher, does that matter to you? And are you happier with the lower payment that you paid for a higher house? Or are you happier that you now have a higher payment, but you got in at a better price? To me, most of the people I deal with now, I help with mortgages too. Most of the people I deal with are much more sensitive to what their monthly payment is because they're basing it off of their jobs. Unless you see that this coming that you're going to lose your job, if you're in the right financial position, you've saved a little bit of money and you can afford the monthly payment, I see so much more value in owning your property and paying a mortgage than continuing to be a renter. And if we have continued inflation, well, housing will likely go higher as well. It's hard to take one aspect of an economy and have inflation across everything else. And a loaf of bread goes up, a ticket to a ball game, buying a car, but oh, housing is just going to stay less expensive. While it sounds nice because everybody would like to pay less for their house, whether they're renting or buying, it's just not realistic to think, well, we're going to have all this inflation, but not in my rent and not in my purchasing a home. I think the Fed's in a really tough position where no matter what they do, there's demand and there's not enough inventory. So we'll talk about that a little. Why is there not enough inventory? Well, one, the new home builders learned quite a lesson in the 2008 correction. When I moved out to Las Vegas, we moved out in 2005. All the new builders were just building house after house after house after house with people with signs saying, come see this, come see that. Well, they don't do that anymore. They don't start building until a person puts a deposit down because they want to buy the home. They then have them do upgrades, which makes them put more money out of their pocket and commit to that house even more so. While they do have fallout, it is not the same type of quantity of homes that you saw that happened in 2008 because they're too smart to do that again. Yes, some people get into the contract and don't follow through, and the new builders offer a good deal to get that home sold. But typically, the good deal is because they've already collected earnest money. So if they've collected $10,000 or $20,000, all of a sudden they can discount the home that much because they've already collected that money, and they haven't built an additional 50 homes in advance of people buying. Now, Add to that the mortgages people were considering. They had this option arm available where people could pay really minimal payments. You know, there were people who actually predicted the downturn because they saw this. So my sister got one of those loans. When she got into her house, she was paying about $700 a month. And despite that the guy probably explained it, she really didn't understand. And she would get her bills, and she had these four different options, and she would pay the lowest one because why not? And the comment they made is, well, when it matures, you can just refinance because housing always goes up in value. Well, we've learned our lesson that that isn't always true. The problem is, though, if it starts to correct, and her payment went from $700 to $2,300. So that's a significant increase. Now, you add to that, the housing could have started to correct by then. I'm not even going to talk about a big collapse. Let's just say you buy a home for $600,000. Now it's worth about $500, and your payment's going from $700 to 23 and change. And you start looking around and realize, geez, I can buy a home for less money and get a lower payment than this 2300 and change now. Well, that's a much different scenario than a bunch of people pinned into 30-year mortgages at low interest rates, so that when interest rates are going higher, even while the home prices are coming down, they would have to downsize to take on a higher mortgage payment. Well, who's going to want to sell their home to take a smaller house with a higher monthly payment? It's so different than it was before. So it puts the Fed in a much tougher position that raising rates will slow down the demand just because it makes it more expensive per month. But listen to that. It just makes it more expensive per month. So whether it's through prices or through interest rates, it's hard for me to see in a scenario without a total economic collapse where it becomes more affordable. And if there's a total economic collapse, why would any of us be excluded from that and now in this wonderful position to buy a home at a better price? There's a disconnect there of, if that happens, that there are going to be some bad things going on, and a lot of people will be losing their jobs, which is not what I see coming. I see a slowdown and things about where they are. And right now is such a great opportunity because, at least here in Las Vegas, it's pretty rare that sellers will give concessions or negotiate. Typically you have to pay full price. It's a seller's market most of the time, and we've watched inventory continue to drop again. I've seen inventory popped up to a little over 5,000. Last I looked, we're at 4,200, and that's only been over a couple of months. Well, if inventory continues to dwindle, the sellers will get less negotiable again, and you'll see prices go up again. If the Fed tries to fight that by raising rates and pushing mortgages higher as well, well, your monthly payment's still likely to go up the way it has been currently. Most people who bought their homes who have 3% interest rates, if they want to move, they're looking at higher payments. So again, not going to see those homes come to the market. You add that with the new builders, I don't see this big influx of inventory coming because everybody learned their lessons, including the buyers. Everybody's a little bit fearful. I want to buy when people are fearful. And what's worse is the realtors who are on there promoting how the people should wait. And when I look back at their videos a year or so ago, and they thought the markets looked good because of the low inventory, are now talking about how the inventory is increased. But our average inventory in Las Vegas is 10 to 12,000 homes. We're at 4,200. Yes, we increased from 1,000, but that's a little bit of why the Fed stepped in. Is, oh my God, it was getting totally out of control. And they created a shock to the market, which got everybody to back off. But I'm seeing people come back in now that they're getting more used to the rates. And I would hate to talk people out of buying a home because I see rates going higher, because their monthly payment is going to go up. When we bought our home, I think it's really important to take the information out there and pay attention to the information that makes the least amount of sense. So when news is really bad, whether it's stocks or whatever it is that you watch, real estate and investments or collectibles, anything. When news is really bad in that industry and it's not going lower, or news is really good and it's not going higher, that's more valuable information than anything else. What I mean by that is go back to when COVID came around. And what did everybody think? I mean, the world shut down. And those of us in the industry expected the housing market to collapse, right? Well, I remember sitting on a sofa in our old house, and we'd been wanting to move into a single story for 4 years, but it was always a little out of our price range. And I remember saying to my wife, like, hey, honey, I would expect the housing market to collapse, but it isn't. And if it isn't, I only picture one way for it to go. So I know it's out of our reach, but if we don't take the plunge now, I don't think we'll ever have the opportunity again to try to get into a single story. Now, it's easy for me to say that now after the market's done better and everything else, because it was very scary back then. But I kind of see now, even though the prices are higher and rates are higher, very similar. The news is very scary. The market has come down some. We dropped about 10, 15%. I know there's some that look like it dropped more, but in my opinion, those homes were overpriced from the sellers. And the news is really scary. The Fed's raising rates, the economy's collapsing, people are trying to veer away from the US dollar. All of that stuff is real and scary and everything else, but prices don't seem to be going lower anymore. At least from what I'm seeing, they seem to be maintaining just fine. So that's pretty scary news without the market going lower. That's kind of what I would look for as a buyer, a lot of fear in the market and prices sustaining. So if realtors are advising to wait when I feel like this is when it's their job to make people more comfortable that it's okay, because if you saved money up and you have a down payment and you have a good job that you're not worried about losing and your monthly payment makes sense for what you can afford, why would you scare yourself out of the market? Because if you're wrong and it becomes less affordable, you're just going to make it tougher and tougher and tougher on you and your family. I don't really see the value in that. And I think if it goes down a little bit, that's okay. Even if it dropped 20 or 30%, if you can afford your payments, that's okay. Whether you're renting or owning, you need a place to live. And there's something nice about owning. I used to say to clients, and I really mean it, one of the nice things about owning is if I wanted to paint my walls pink, I can. When you rent, you have to check with your landlord about any changes you make. I like the freedom that my house is my house. And I also like that it kind of forces me to save. And from my perspective, saving is so important, whether it's in real estate, stocks, bonds, anything. It's so important to put money away for your future. I don't want to scare people out of buying a home because it's one more way that they save. If they just pay rent, it doesn't go towards any equity. If they pay rent and put money in a bank account or something else, I understand, but people tend to spend what they make. Anyway, do me a favor, subscribe, like, give a thumbs up. Hopefully some people are out there watching. Hopefully I settle some people down who might be on the fence. I see this as a really good opportunity for the buyers in Las Vegas. And again, I'm not a financial planner. You have to make those decisions on your own. But I look for these times to be on the other side of what's going on and hope for the best. I don't want to bank on it a 1929, the world is ending type of recession. If it comes, I don't see how any of us can avoid it. I don't picture a scenario where I have this wonderful job that pays so well, and now that awful things are happening, I don't lose my job and I'm not in a bad situation, and I can just take advantage of the things being less expensive. So why would I make the bet and wait for that? Because if it doesn't come, I'm going to lose out. And to me, like that's more important because man, if that day comes, my guess is all the people that have been waiting, saving, and everything else preparing for it are going to be in such a bad position that they can't buy. Like it's a total disconnect. So, anyway, like I said, subscribe, like, give a thumbs up. Feel free to chime in, tell me where I'm wrong, because, I like debating. Have a great day.